I recently launched a course where I show you how to build 16 intermediate and advanced level JavaScript projects that are frequently asked during live coding interview rounds. Each of these 16 projects has been video recorded and built from scratch with in-depth line-by-line explanations. There's a lot to learn here, and building these 16 projects should strengthen your JavaScript fundamentals to the extent that most projects asked during live coding rounds should become easy for you to solve. The link to the course is in the description as well as the comment section, and here's the preview or demo part of each of the project extracted from the course itself for your reference. In this project, I'm going to show you how to build a file explorer using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now this project is going to be a really interesting and insightful one, so you should pay close attention to everything that I do here, and if possible, you should also code along with me. And you're also going to learn a lot by building this project. So stay tuned. Now before I dive into the code, I'm first going to give you the demo of the project. So here you can see I have two icons. One is the folder icon and the other is the file icon. They also have this plus icon on them, indicating that you can add a folder or a file. Let me just zoom into them a bit. Alright, so now if I click here, then you can see it shows up an input asking us to name the folder that we want to add and an add folder as well as a cancel button. If I click on cancel, then the input just goes away and we don't have to add anything. But if I click on this and then I add the folder name, let's say I say something like first folder, and then I click on add folder, then a folder actually gets added with the name first folder, and it has 4 icons on it, which is to add a subfolder within this folder, or to add a sub file within this file, or to edit the name of this folder, or to just delete this entire folder. And there's this arrow mark as well that will allow us to collapse or expand the files and folders present within this. So to go on, now if I click on file here, then now it gives us the option to add a file as well. So similarly here, let me just write first file, and then if I click on add file, then the first file also gets added over here. And now these two are in the first level. These two have been added in the first level. And since this is a file, so we can't add any folder or a file within a file, right? Because that's how a file explorer works. So we cannot add anything within this, but we can edit its name or delete it. But since this is a folder, we can actually add a file or a folder within it. So let's say I try to add a subfolder within this first folder. If I click on this, I get this input again. Let's say I write sub first folder. And then if I click on add folder, this gets added right within the first folder. And there's also this nice alignment indicating that it's within it. Alright, and if I click on this arrow mark, then it's going to hide the contents within its folder. So if I click here, you see the sub first folder got hidden. If I click on this again, then it expands and it shows the content within. Alright, similarly, I can add a file within this first folder as well. So sub first file, you can name it whatever you want. So now a file has also been added. And similarly, now I can nest as much as I want. So I can also add something over here. So let's say sub first folder. Alright, then now within this sub first folder, I can add multiple folders as well. So over here, I can add more. So let's say sub second folder, and then I can add the folder as well. And if I click on this, the arrow, then it hides all the content within it. If I expand it again, it will show me all the folders. And within this, I can keep adding more if I want. So sub first file, and you get the idea. Basically, I can nest it as deep as I want, and it's going to properly align and keep nesting. Now, as you can see, all of these elements are a child of the first folder. So if I click on this, it will hide everything, and if I click on this again, it's going to expand and reveal the content within. Now let's say I just add another parent folder. Let's say I name this second folder. Alright, so you can see this one, since it was added at the parent, this is also placed at the parent or the first level. So if I collapse this, you can see we have first folder, first file, and second folder. And if I expand this, we get the contents for this. Similarly, I can add more over here. So sub second folder, this can also have more content. Now to show you the interesting part, let's say if I want to edit something, let's say I want to edit the name of the first folder. Alright, so if I click on this, alright, the moment I click on edit, we get the save or the cancel option. If I click on cancel, then we just cancel or edit. But if I click on the edit button and I actually click here, and then let's say I edit this text. So let's say I add something over here. Let's say I add R multiple times, and then I click on save. Then you see the first folder was updated. Alright, now because I clicked on this, so it collapsed. If I click on this again, this expands, and you can see we have our first folder over here. The name has been edited. Similarly, I can edit this as well. I'll add this multiple times, click on save. This name also got updated. I click on this again, this will expand. And now the last thing left is to show you the delete functionality. Now the specialty about the delete functionality is, just like in an actual file explorer, if I delete the parent folder, it's also going to delete all its child contents. So let me first show you by deleting a file. So this is just a file. If I delete this, nothing else is going to get deleted because it has nothing within it. So if I click on delete, you see the first file got deleted. Now similarly, what I'll show you is, check this out. Within the second folder, we have the sub-second folder, right? Just to not confuse you, I'll collapse this. So at the parent level, we have first folder and second folder. Let's say I expand this. Within this, we have sub-second folder. But let's say I delete the second folder. Then because this is the parent node for its subsequent child node, so if I delete this, the child will also get deleted. So if I click here, you see both of them got deleted. Alright, now if I expand this, then let's say I want to delete the sub-second folder. Now the sub-second folder has nothing within it. So if I just delete this, that will only individually get deleted. But now the sub-first folder has this file within it. So if I delete this, both of these will get deleted. So if I click here, you see both of them got deleted. Now similarly, let's say I just delete the first folder, and remember that the sub-first folder and sub-first file are within the first folder. Alright, so if I delete the first folder itself, then the entire folder itself gets deleted. So if you notice, this works exactly like a file explorer, and we are going to build this using HTML, CSS and pure JavaScript. So you're going to learn a lot by building this project. So without any further ado, let's start with the code. In this project, I'm going to show you how to build a nested comment structure using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. You're going to learn a lot by building this project, so I suggest you code along with me. First, before I dive into the code, I'm going to give you a demo of the project. So here you can see I have an input which says add a comment and a comment button. So over here, let's say I type something. Let's say I write first comment, and then if I click on the comment button, then you can see a comment with the text that I inputted, which was first comment, gets added up as a comment, and it has 3 buttons: reply, edit and delete. Alright, now let's say I add another comment over here. Let's call it second comment. And if I add comment, it gets added right below the first comment again. Now, let's say I want to comment to this post over here. Let's say I want to comment something within the first comment. So here, if I click on reply, I can add any comment. Let's say sub first comment. And if I click on reply, then you can see a sub first comment, a new comment is added within the first comment itself. So we can nest comments within comments. So here, let's say I try to reply to this now. Let's say I write sub first comment, and if I click on reply, then this is nested within this comment over here. Similarly, let's say I try to add another comment to this one over here. I can write sub second comment, and I can click on reply, and a new comment is added over here as well. And the parent of this comment is nothing but this comment over here. Similarly, I can do the same for this over here as well. So something like second sub comment, and that gets added over here as well. So we can nest any level deep, and we can add comments to any comments that we want. And apart from that, we can also edit and delete our comments. So let's say I try to edit this comment over here, the sub first comment. If I click on edit, then you can see we get this edit option over here. This gets highlighted, and let's say I add some values, and then if I click on save, then you can see our comment has been saved and edited. So now this has multiple T's over here. Similarly, I can do the same with this over here as well. And if I click on save, then it gets saved. And also, let's say if I clicked on edit, but I do not want to save anything, and I just click on cancel, then it preserves the last comment and the save and cancel button get removed. Alright, so if I click on edit and I click on cancel, then we just keep the latest or the previous edit. Alright, now apart from that, we can also delete elements. So let's say over here, I try to delete this, the second sub comment. If I click here, you see that the comment was deleted. Similarly, if I want to delete the second comment, I can delete that as well. And now one interesting thing is, you know how in a nested structure, if I delete the parent, then the subsequent child elements should also get deleted, right? So here you can see sub first comment is a child of the sub first comment, right? So if I delete the sub first comment, then sub first comment should also get deleted. So these two should get deleted if I click delete here. And so to verify that, let's say I click on delete, and there you go, you saw both of them got deleted. Similarly, if I delete this over here, then these two should also get deleted. And there you go, you see both of them got deleted. So this is what we're going to build, and you're going to learn a lot by building this project. So without any further ado, let's get started. In this project, I'm going to show you how to build a custom toast notification using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And this project is going to be a really cool one. You're going to learn a lot of things by building this. It's going to be really insightful. So stay tuned and pay attention. So before I dive into the code, let me first give you a demo of the project. So over here, you can see I have this show toast button. If I click on this button, you can see a success toast comes up with a timer and the delete icon on top. And as soon as the timer is over, the toast gets removed with a very smooth transition. So let's see that again. If I click on show toast, you can see there's a timer over here and the timer goes down, and then after it hits 0, it goes away with a smooth transition. And if you notice another thing, if I click on the show toast, it jiggles the moment it appears, and that makes it look extra cooler. Now the next cool thing about this project is you can showcase multiple toasts at once as well. So let's say I click this show toast button multiple times with a slight delay. First click, the second click, and the third click. You can see how after each toast disappears, the toast right below it smoothly goes up and then it disappears as well as soon as its timer ends. Let me do this again. I click this multiple times and you can see each of those toasts have their respective timers starting from when they were actually displayed, and then as soon as the toast above the below toast ends or gets removed, the toast below it smoothly goes up and it also disappears. And apart from that, let's say I click this toast again multiple times, click it with a slight delay, and I want this toast to get removed. So I can click on the cross icon and it goes away. So if I click multiple times and I click here, it goes away. If I click this, it goes away. So any toast that you want to cancel right away, you can click on the delete icon and remove it right away instead of having to wait for the timer to end. Now apart from that, I have also customized this toast notification highly, so you can place it in different places as well. So for example, if I open my code, then over here you can see I have this top center. Let's say I make this top right, and then now if I go to my browser and I click on show toast, this time it comes up on the top right. You see that? It comes up on the top right. And similarly, if I go to my code again, then over here I can also make this top left, and if I go to the browser and I click on show toast, then you can see this time it comes up on the left side. And now I can also make this bottom left, and then if I go to the browser and I click on show toast, it comes up on the bottom left. And I can do the same for the center and right at the bottom position as well. So if this is bottom center, this will come up at the bottom center, and if it's bottom right, it will come up at the bottom right side. See? So we also have so much control over the placement of the toast. Now apart from that, there's one more cool thing. You can also change the type of the toast. So basically over here, instead of success, if I change the type to error, and let's say I name this error toast, and then if I go to my browser, and also let's just make this top center, and now let's say if I open the toast and I click on show toast, then this time an error toast pops up with a red colored background. So you see we can also have different types of toast messages. How cool is that? And apart from that, one last thing is we can also change the timer of each toast. So if I make this 10, this is going to last for 10 seconds. You can see each of those toasts have a time limit of 10 seconds this time. So this is a highly customizable project. You can customize it in so many different ways, and you can also utilize this in your own applications. And you're going to learn so much as you build this. And one more thing to notice is you can notice in the code, I've structured it in such a way that my toast.js contains all the logic, and in my script.js, I simply import the toast from the toast.js, which is nothing but an object that contains all the important logic, or basically all the important functions. So I import the toast in the script.js, and I'm using it over here by calling its different methods like toast.show, and then I have to initialize it over here by using toast.init. So once I use toast.init on top, it means our toast is initialized for that particular page, and then I can use all the toast functionalities right under it anywhere on that page. So basically what I'm trying to say is I have created this project in a way where this acts like a module where you can convert this into a library for your own personal projects. So much so that once you're done writing the logic, this entire logic for your toast app, then you just have to initialize that toast on any page of your code, and then you can utilize the different functions of that toast object. You can use toast.show like this, similar to how we do in NPM libraries, where you just have to write toast.show or toast.display and so on, or toast.success, and it respectively shows you the toast message with your configurations. So I have also created this project in that similar way, where you create your own logic and you can import it in different parts of the application and use it similar to how we use libraries. So you're also going to learn how to do all of this. So all in all, this is going to be a really insightful project for all of you. So I want you to pay proper attention and code along with me if possible. So without any further ado, let's now start with the coding part of the project. In this project, I'm going to build a JavaScript application that utilizes the drag, drop, swap, add, and delete functionalities. I'm going to build the entire project using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and you're going to learn a lot in this project. So before I start with the coding part, here's the demo of the project. Over here, you can see a 3x3 grid, and on each item over here, on each grid item, you can see a plus icon present. So if I click on the plus icon, it allows me to select a file. Let's say I click this image. As soon as I click on that image gets added over here. And if I hover on that image, you can see a cross icon comes on top, which means I can even delete this image. So if I click on the cross icon, the image gets deleted. Now let's say I add the image back again. And then I can even drag this image anywhere on this grid. I hold this and I can drag it anywhere. And after dragging, I can drop it on any grid as well. Let's say I drop it here and it moves its position from here to here. Alright, so that was the drag and drop functionality, as you can see here on the screen. Now apart from this, I can also swap two images on the grid. So let's say I select multiple images. I add this one here and I add this over here. So now I can hold this, and if I place it over here on top of this, then they both swap their positions. Similarly with this, I can place it here and they both will swap their positions. So I can also move this anywhere I want, and I can play along with the images and place them wherever I want to in the entire grid. Let me just add another image, and here you can see I'm able to swap. I'm also able to delete any image, and I'm able to drag and drop it anywhere I want. And apart from that, I'm also able to add any image. Alright, so this is what we are going to build. You're going to learn how to implement these drag, drop, swap, add, and delete functionalities purely using JavaScript, and this is going to be a very insightful project. So without any further ado, let's start with the code. Alright, in this project, I'm going to show you how to build a custom date picker, or basically a calendar, using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So you're going to learn a lot from this project. I suggest that you code along with me as well. Now first, I'll show you the demo of the project and then we'll dive into the code. So here you can see we have this calendar. Well, if I click on this header part, then you can see the initial state of this calendar is closed like this, and it just displays today's date, which is November 8th, 2023. And if I refresh, you can see the date stays on like this. And then if I click on this, then you can see the calendar expands. And here we have the left and right arrow marks where I can change the months. As you can see over here, we just went to 2024, but because I haven't clicked on anything, so this date still shows the current date. But now let's say I go to November 2023 itself and I click on 18th, then the date over here changes to November 18th. Then if I go to, let's say, December 23 and I click on another date, let's say not 18 but 10 this time, then it changes to 10 December 2023. And similarly, if I go after 2023, then this changes to 2024. And also if I go behind 2023, like just before 2023, then this changes to December 2022. And also you can notice that January has 31 days, February here has 28, March has 31, and so on. And whenever I hover on these, you can see this blue effect, and when I click on a date, it has this highlighted effect on the date that has been selected. So all in all, this is the date picker that we are going to build. You're going to learn a lot about JavaScript by building this project. So without any further ado, let's get started. In this project, I'm going to show you how to build a custom multi-select dropdown using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. This project is going to be pretty insightful, and learning how to build your custom multi-select dropdown is something you should really know about. So before I start with the code, let me just give you the demo of the project. Over here you can see I have this dropdown which says select items, and there's this nice color, gradient color, as well as some box shadow behind it. And once I click on it, it expands to show the list of items within the dropdown, and I can even scroll up and down. So when there's more items in the dropdown, a scroll bar shows up, ensuring that the height of this content does not extend too much. And also you can see if I hover on any item, there's a slightly different color. Now let's say if I click on any item, then you can see we get this item that comes up over here, the item that we selected, as well as a cross icon over here, which means if I click this, then all the existing items over here should go away. But before that, let me add some more items. You can see as I keep adding multiple items, it looks something like this. And if I click on the cross button, then all of them go away and the dropdown also closes up. If I click on this again, and let's say I click on all the items, I select all of them, and you can see the height extends in a smooth manner and everything stays perfectly aligned. And if I click on cross, then all of them go away. And also, let's say I add 3 items and then I click on item 3 again, then item 3 gets deleted from over here. So whichever items I click, it gets displayed on over here, and whichever one I deselect, they get removed from the selected items slot over here. You can see now if I keep deselecting them, all of them get deselected. And as soon as all the items are deselected and removed, the cross icon also goes away. Alright, so this is what we are going to build for this project. So without wasting any time, let's dive into the code. In this project, I'm going to build a memory game using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You're going to learn a lot about CSS and JavaScript by building this project. So before I dive into the code, let me first give you a demo of the project. So here you can see this 3x4 grid structure where there are 3 rows and 4 columns. Alright, so now if I, let's say, click on any grid, so let's say I click here, then this turns around and showcases the color behind it, which is orange in this case. And then let's say if I click some other card, but this one this time is pink, and since they don't match, so after a few seconds they revert back to their back position, meaning that they didn't match. Now let's say I click this again and I try to find the orange card. So until I haven't found the orange card, the rest of the cards will keep on turning back or flipping back all over again. Similarly, if I do this, it's still not there. Now if I click this and here, similarly, this is pink, and if I click here, then these two end up matching, and when they end up matching, then in that case they don't flip back again. Now if I click this green here and this card over here, then these two end up matching, so they don't flip back again as well. Similarly, I'm going to do it for the rest as well. This and this match, then orange can match with not this, this is red, so if I click here, this was also red, so these two also end up matching. Similarly, this and this, so orange also matched. This is gray, and if I click on this, this is also gray, so these also end up matching. So once all the cards have been matched, we have completed the game, and that's all there is to it. So if I refresh, you are going to learn how to build a lot of things over here, such as how we flip these 2 cards, plus how we compare those 2 cards, and then all the different game conditions where whether or not they are equal, and how to position all the elements accordingly, and how to make this flip effect where we have 2 colors on the front and back. So we are going to learn a lot about CSS and JavaScript as we build this project. And so without any further ado, let's get started with the code. In this project, I'm going to show you how to build an analog clock using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You're going to learn a lot about CSS and JavaScript by building this project, so I suggest you code along with me as well. But first, this is the demo of the project. I don't need to explain too much because you can clearly see this is a clock with an hour hand, a minute hand, and a second hand, and the numbers from 1 to 12 are dispersed across the entire circle, which make it look exactly like a clock, and the second hand keeps moving each second, denoting the number of seconds that have passed, and the minute and hour hand also change respectively, just like an actual clock does. So this is what we're going to build. Without any further ado, let's start writing the code. In this project, I'm going to show you how to build a dynamic progress bar using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Alright, so first I'll give you the demo of the project. Here you can see 2 inputs, value and max value. And then here you see a progress bar which will fill up as soon as we start filling both the input values. And here there is a submit button. So once we click on submit, based on whatever input we have put on over here, this progress bar is going to start filling up. So for example, if I add 30 and the max value is, let's say, 100, and if I submit, so it gives us a value of 30% because 30 is 30% of 100. Similarly, if I make this, let's say, 50, and then I click on the submit button, then you see this goes up to the 50%. And then if I make this to 100 and I click on submit, then this goes to 100%. And another thing is, let's say I keep this as 50 and I make this 120, then it will still give us the correct percentage value because 50 is 42% of 120. And I've also added some different error checks where if the value is greater than the max value, then it will throw some error. So for example, if I say this is 150 and let's say I'll just keep this 100 and I click on submit, then it says value should be less than max value. And also if both the values, both the input values are empty, and if I click on submit, then it throws another error where it says the input shouldn't be empty. And then after that, if I go and proceed to add a value and a max value which satisfies all the conditions and I click on submit, then it updates accordingly. And you can see whenever I try to add a value and I submit, the width increases with this very smooth transition. So this is what I'm exactly going to show you how to build. This is a cool little project you should be well versed with, because some of the things you will learn to make this will really enhance your CSS and JavaScript knowledge. Alright, so without any further ado, let's now start with the code. In this project, I'm going to show you how to build a star rating system using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. But first, let's see the demo of the project. So here you can see 5 white stars. Now when I hover on any star, you can see before I've even clicked, and if I just hover, then all the stars before the cursor as well as the star I'm hovering on get colored, indicating that this is how all the stars will look once I click on it. So if I move my cursor to any other star, you see how the stars get updated accordingly. They all get colored until where my cursor lies on. And if I move my mouse away from these stars, then they go back to becoming white again. But as soon as I click on a star, let's say I click on the third one, then it displays the stars that have been colored, which is 3, and if I move my mouse away, you can see it doesn't become white again, denoting that we have actually clicked on a star. And now, despite of having a star clicked, if I hover on the stars again, then you can see it still shows the effect where all the stars before my cursor and the star on the cursor get colored based on wherever I'm hovering on. But remember, I had clicked on the third star, and now I haven't clicked on any star, I'm just hovering on all the stars. And hovering after having clicked on a star, if I still move my mouse away, it remembers that the third star was clicked and the stars till the third star remain colored. Now if I were to click on another star, let's say the fourth one, then the number updates to 4 and all the stars till the fourth star get colored. And the same thing will happen if I hover. It will keep updating to show you how all these stars until your cursor will look like when they're colored. But as soon as I move away from these stars, and if a star was clicked, then it goes back to the previous position to display the number of colored stars until the star that I had previously clicked upon. Alright, so if I click on any star, then the value updates based on the star I'm clicking on, and upon hovering, everything updates accordingly based on where my cursor is. And once I move away, it goes back to the star that I had clicked on. Alright, so this is what we are going to build for this project. So without any further ado, let's start with the code. In this project, I'll show you how to build the game Tic-Tac-Toe using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. You will learn a lot about JavaScript by building this simple game. Although the game might appear simple, but the code behind building this project can teach you a lot about JavaScript. So first, let's dive into the demo of the project. You can see we have this 3x3 grid over here with 3 rows and 3 columns. And there's this restart button. And there's this text over here which says whose turn it is. So since this over here says that it's X's turn, if I click on here, then the text X gets applied to the first grid. Then after doing that, the turn changes to O's turn. If I click anywhere, it becomes O. Then let's say if I click here again, it becomes X. Then here, this is for O. And now it's X's turn. If I click here, then X wins because there is now one entire column filled with X. And as you can notice over here that once the player wins, the background of those grids even get highlighted. So after this, if I click on the restart button, then the game gets restarted. And now let me just try it again. For example, if I put X here, then O here, X over here, O here, but then X here this time. And this time you can see X wins and the diagonal grids were filled this time. Similarly, if I try to draw the match, so let's say I just randomly start putting in these values and I try to draw the match, then you can see none of the backgrounds are highlighted as green because no one row or column or diagonal was present with the same letters, and in that case we also get draw displayed over here. So this is what we are going to build for this project, and without any further ado, let's get started with the code. In this project, I'm going to show you how to build a to-do list with local storage support using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So first, let me show you the demo of the project. Here you can see there is a create a to-do option, which is nothing but an input. And over here you can see I have an add to-do button. And once I click on this add to-do button after typing something on the input, the information is going to be added to the to-do list. So for example, let's say I write buy eggs and then I click on the add to-do button, then you can see buy eggs gets added over here. And the cool thing is, if I refresh the page, the data still persists, it does not go away. So you can see no matter how many times I refresh, the data persists because I'm storing it in the local storage as well. And if I click on this circle over here, then our to-do item gets checked out, meaning that we have completed it. And I can uncheck this as well. I can check and uncheck it as many times I want. And also if I want to edit this, I can click on the edit button, then I can edit this to-do as well. Alright, and apart from this, if I click on the delete button, the to-do item is going to get deleted. So no matter how many to-dos I add, let's say I add the cake, study, go play outside, then you can see 3 to-dos have been added. And then if I click on this one gets crossed out. If I click on this also gets crossed out. And if I want, I can even edit the to-dos. And apart from that, I can also start deleting any one of them. And if I click on the refresh button, they always persist on the screen. And if I show you the local storage, so if I go here, I click on application, I'll expand this a bit, I'll click on local storage, and over here you can see I have this to-dos key, which has a value that is nothing but an array of objects, and each of these objects denote the to-do items added in this to-do list. So you can see the content of this is study, which is the same over here, and this is go play outside, which is same over here, but for the go play outside we have completed as true, so this is checked out. Alright, I'll close this up. So this is basically what we're going to build. You're going to learn all the CRUD functionalities using JavaScript, and you're also going to learn a lot of interesting CSS concepts. And at the same time, you're also going to learn how to handle items in the local storage. Alright, so without any further ado, let's get started with the code. In this project, I'm going to show you how to build an accordion with nice and smooth transitions using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So I'll first give you the demo of the project. Over here you can see 3 different headers. This entire thing is basically an accordion, and if I click on the section 1, then you can see how the content of the section 1 comes out in a very smooth fashion. Similarly, if I click on section 2, then you can see the content of section 1 closed up very smoothly, and the content of section 2 expanded in a very smooth fashion. So if I click on different headers, you can see how everything seems so neatly transitioned, smooth, and has an overall nice feel to look at and use. So I'm going to show you how to build all of these features regarding how when an accordion is active and I click on any other accordion, then the previously opened accordion collapses and the new one expands to show its content. And I'm going to show you how to make all these transitions and add all these cool effects. So without any further ado, let's dive into the JavaScript code. In this project, I'm going to show you how to build 2 things. One is going to be the timer for days remaining, and the other is going to be a countdown timer. So the timer for days remaining is something like this. So here you can see this is not counting down. The seconds over here is going up. So this is the days remaining timer, where you specify a particular day from which you want to calculate the days remaining as per the current date you are on. So basically, if I'm on, let's say 27th October and I want to find the days remaining or the time remaining from 1st October, so this is going to calculate the time remaining between 27th October and 1st October. And because it always gives us the latest time value, and because the current second as of now for 27th October keeps on increasing, so this value over here gives us the existing real-time difference between today, which is 27th October, to 1st October. So this is the days remaining timer. And similarly for the countdown timer, which is going to look something like this. So over here, the only difference is the seconds is going down. So in this example, we are going to have a specific date that we want to set, and from that date, we want to specify which date we want to count down to. So taking the first example, the date we wanted to count down to was 1st October, and let's say the date we want to count down from, or today's date, which is 27th October. So from there, we are counting down to 1st October. So this is how the countdown timer looks like. So in just one project, you're going to learn 2 things, which is first, the days remaining timer, and second, which is the countdown timer. So remember, when I start the project, I'm first going to code the logic for the days remaining timer, and after I'm done coding the logic for days remaining timer, I'm going to slightly, in fact very slightly, modify it to convert it into a countdown timer. Alright, so remember, first I'm going to be writing the code for days remaining timer, and then I'm going to modify it and make it into a countdown timer. Alright, without any further ado, let's start coding this project. In this project, I'm going to show you how to build a custom modal using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So let's first dive into the demo of the project. So over here, you can see I have this open modal button, and if I click on this, then you can see a modal pops up, and behind this modal, there's a light darkish color overlay or backdrop being created. And within this modal, you can see there's some information like the heading, the text content, and a button. So this button is just a dummy button. Nothing happens when I click on this. This is just set up for an example. And you can see there's a cross icon over here, which if I click, then the modal just closes up. And also, if I click on open modal, and instead of clicking the cross icon, I click anywhere in this overlay over here, even in that case, the modal ends up closing. So we need to take that into account as well. And not just that, if I click on open modal again, and if I press the escape key, then in that case also the modal closes. So these are few of the cases we will have to take into account. Alright, so now let's dive into the coding part. In this project, I'm going to build a chessboard pattern using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So I'm going to combine CSS grids with JavaScript to build this chessboard pattern in the most efficient way. So before we begin writing the code, this is the demo of the project. As you can see within this box, we have 8 rows and 8 columns present, and each of the boxes within the box have an alternating pattern of white and black. So for the first row, you can notice that the first cell starts with the color of white, and for the second row, the first cell starts with the color of black. So if you notice, for the rows which are even in number, the first cell of that row starts from the color white, and the rows that are odd in number, the first cell of that row starts from the color black. And this alternating pattern goes on throughout the board. So now without any further ado, let's start building this project.